Hey there, good to see everybody again. Not that I get to see you, but yeah, it felt like a different way to open. So we're doing another comment section because people keep asking questions and I'm like, that would be a good video. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. So we got a series of questions on something that I need to do an update on anyways. So this past year in the 2022-2023 school year, we were doing Classical Conversations Cycle 2, which focuses on the medieval and Renaissance world. And we did 4 different history curriculums, all from the Memoria Press history plan, but geared at different ages to work our way through this time period. We also did a bunch of other little stuff, a bunch of crafts, a bunch of kind of random like library book style history books that are more geared to elementary and middle school. And we do those more sporadically, but our core books were these 4. The fun thing about doing it this way is you're reading a ridiculous amount. So, if the kid is only going to absorb so much of it and they're only going to retain even less than if you give them a crazy amount of information, then hey, the 10% of it that they actually retain a few years later is still significantly larger than what they would have retained if you had only done one curriculum with them. And the argument against that is, well, but you could have done that one curriculum really, really well and slowed down with it and explored it. It's like, not so much. So anyways, this is how we do it. And this is do whatever you want to do. So this is just what we do. So we started off with the story of the world. The story of the world is kind of geared towards lower elementary. At the same time, I remember when I was a brand new homeschooling parent, I thought Story of the World was phenomenal. And I was like, this is about as much historical content as I really was getting in my AP World History class in like high school. So I think they do AP World History in like sophomore year of high school. And I don't remember learning half of this stuff. I'm sure I did. I just didn't retain it all, which is weird because I then went and had like a history-based degree after that. Anywho, so we start off with Story of the World, and we did that like over the last portion of the summer. Story of the World's also really easy because we have it on audio, so it's something that like you just hit play when you're in the car, and you don't have to work that hard at it. We do have the extra like activity books. We almost never do anything out of them. I don't love them. I think they're kind of, I don't know. They're not the activities I would choose to do, obviously, because I don't choose to do them. But I think they're fine. And if you're not someone who, if you're someone who wants to be very hands-on, if you have a very kinesthetic learner and they are like table kinesthetic rather than bouncing on a trampoline or running across the yard kinesthetic, like my girl, then they might be great. My girl does love crafting, but it's different. So anyways, we just don't use those books very often. So we did Story of the World kind of at the end of the summer. Then we moved on to Famous Men of the Middle Ages. Now, Famous Men of the Middle Ages, according to Memoria Press's cycle, and I always have to look this stuff up because it's not what I think it's supposed to be. I'm like always wrong on when you're supposed to be doing these things because I don't do it at all based on like their levels. So they consider Famous Men of the Middle Ages part of not their history. It's weird the way they have it set up in their website. They have a history section, and then they have their like classical studies section. So they consider it part of classical studies. So you would be doing history in addition to that, but they consider Famous Men of the Middle Ages to be 5th grade through 8th grade. So the way that cycle works is you do Delaire's Greek myths in 3rd grade, famous men of Rome in 4th grade, famous men of Greece in 5th grade, famous men of the Middle Ages and I could be doing that wrong too, because I think they do it kind of weird. So they do Delaire's Greek myths, famous men of Rome, famous men of the Middle Ages, and then famous men of Greece. Okay. And then they do other things. But that's the famous men cycle. So we did famous men of Rome, famous men of the Middle Ages after we did Story of the World. And it's more from a, biography viewpoint rather than, or viewpoint, way of telling the story, than from like, a more objective, like this is the history book and this is what happened. So it's more from the lens. Lens is what I was looking for. It's more from the lens of biography. So that's kind of nice. So we did that, and then we did the Book of the Middle Ages next. Now, the book ofs, you open them up and you're like, oh, it's, like 400 or 500 pages. It's not that long. They are dense. So they are considered to be at the 6th to 9th grade level. And according to, they do not even show up on Memoria Press's like standard 8-year timeline, the Book of the Middle Ages. It just doesn't show up. So I don't know when you're really supposed to do it, but you're supposed to be doing Book of the Ancient Greeks in year 5. And remember, 3rd grade is year 1. So 8th grade, it's middle school. It's middle school to lower high school. So they're pretty dense. Then we did Renaissance and Reformation, which is not called the Book of, but it's kind of in that same series. And that one does not show up in their classical section. That one shows up in their history section, which is weird. But it's another Dorothy Mills book, and it's the next one. So we're doing that one right now. And it is dense. We bought the late high school, early college book for the Middle Ages as a, hey, if there's any chance we get to the point where we're ready for this, here it is. Now we have it. We're not going to get there. We're going to be in American history. And we've already started American history, but we're going to be in American history before we make it to that. So we're just going to leave it for the next time we cycle through. So she's entering what would in public school be 4th grade. So next time she cycles through, she'll be in 7th grade. It'll be far more appropriate then. Not that we do anything based on it being appropriate, because she's in 4th grade. So theoretically, she should be doing Story of the World, maybe famous men of the Middle Ages, and that's it. But that's not enough history for us. It's really not. My daughter, well, she's very active and, plays outside a lot, and we go on very long walks, and she really likes being read to while she's playing and while she's running around. And lately, this fantastic thing has happened where I introduced her to this YouTube lady that I really like called, I'm going to forget it because I'm on camera. Clutterbug. So I introduced her to Clutterbug, which is this YouTube lady who ended up getting like an HGTV show or some HGTV TV show or something like that. I forget which network it was on, where she like goes in and she cleans and organizes people, and she sorts people into different bugs as to what their clutterbug is. Anyways, she's fantastic and pretty child appropriate. She's told like 1 or 2 stories that are a little different, but not inappropriate. Like no weirder than your non-homeschooling sister might tell your kids and think was perfectly funny. But she's funny and she's personable, and my daughter has been watching her and then organizing and cleaning things and earning labels when she cleans something. And it's like, oh, you have cleaned your toy room and organized everything into little bins. And now I know what the bins are. So give me a list and I will make labels for them. And then she gets really excited because she has this laminated label she gets to put up. It's fantastic. Highly recommend. Anyways, that's what we've been doing for history. I don't know why I got off. Oh, because she likes being read to when she organizes too. So, great way to get some additional history time in is just to read at your kids when they're doing other things. Now, how we make sure that her brain is on during those times is we stop and ask her the review questions. So we go and do the review questions a few different ways. They're always verbal. We don't make her write anything down. And there's a lot of benefit to that. She's dyslexic, so it's a lot easier for her to just tell me what you heard, answer the questions. And I get to use the student guides again and again and again. So there's that. But we have her do them verbally. Sometimes we have her do them right after a chapter. So read the chapter, do the questions. And sometimes we'll read the whole book and then we'll go back and do the questions chapter by chapter by chapter to see what she retained from the whole book. So we kind of switch it up between what we're doing. And then sometimes if she's not doing the answering questions very well because it's been too long, we'll go back and we'll read that. Now, the nice thing about doing 4 different levels of the same time period is that she gets deeper and deeper and deeper each time. So she'll get introduced to the concept of Charlemagne in Story of the World. And then she'll read a biography of Charlemagne in Famous Men of the Middle Ages. And then she'll read, she actually read like a whole book called Son of Charlemagne. And that was fantastic. She actually didn't love it. We liked it. She didn't love it. But she did a book report on it. It was fine. It was probably like one of the standout books. We do a lot of little history books in addition to these. So this year we did I did a video on, I'm sorry, I feel like I've got a hair on my face, but I can't find it. So that's why I keep touching my face. Sorry if that's distracting. We do a lot of little history books that are, story books in addition, historical fiction. That's what those are called. You can tell I did not have enough coffee this morning. So we do a lot of those in addition to our traditional history books. And we've done like Son of Charlemagne, and we did one on Da Vinci, and we've done several others. It's just been a while because we just finished the Da Vinci one. And Son of Charlemagne really stuck out. So I do recommend that one because she did remember a lot from it. But you get deeper and deeper and deeper as you go through the stories and go back over them at a different level. So that's kind of our goal for this. And then the nice thing about Memoria Press is the Famous Men series come with flashcards. And then I can go back through and do the flashcards. And we use the flashcards in a lot of games. So any trivia-based board game, you can just remove their really dumb trivia cards that are like, when was bubblegum invented? Or, silly stuff that doesn't really matter. And they don't actually expect you to know. They're expecting you to guess. Remove those and put in the Memoria Press Delirious Greek Myths and Famous Men of Rome and Famous Men of Greece and Famous Men of the Middle Ages. And now you have 4 new categories and you're learning instead of just, answering silly questions that no one is expected to actually know the answer to. So anyways, I've prattled on for about 15 minutes now. I hope you got something out of this. Let me go back and look at her questions and make sure that I kind of got to them. So her original question was if I had done a recap video on this stuff. The reason I hadn't is that I usually like to do the history recap videos with my husband because he's the one who actually does the history curriculum. I don't. I get it when we go on walks and stuff and I'm around. And then I do a lot of the flashcards and the memory work and review it that way. So Memoria Press also has morning recitations. And I went through and got like everything from 3rd grade up to 8th grade because we do so many different things. I skip their science questions because we don't do their science. And like I'm doing a lot of the 5th grade recitation because I want to make sure that she remembers all of her like Roman history from last year. So it's like in the 5th grade one, like all the science stuff is like really specific stuff about insects. And it's like, I don't care. And we haven't learned this and I don't care about it. And you don't need to ever know this because I don't care about insects. But I really like their morning recitations and they're cheap. They're like, I don't know, like $5 or something. So she was specifically asking, how involved as a parent are you in the process? Insanely involved. My daughter has undiagnosed because I don't care if a doctor agrees with me or not. It doesn't really matter to me. Undiagnosed ADHD. So we're not going to like go get meds for it. So who cares if the doctor agrees with me or not? But she like needs you constantly there to be able to stay on task. It needs to be constantly reminded that the thing going on outside the window is not what she's doing. What she's doing is right here in front of her. And yes, it's been 3 seconds. So get back on to what you're supposed to be doing. We're right here, sweetie. Is your brain on? Are you currently here with me? Okay, let's go. Do this. So no, she does not do a lot of independent stuff. Could a kid who reads very well and has very good attention skills and writes very well and is fairly independent do this independently? Maybe. Probably. I think Memoria Press in general is kind of set up so that it's not supposed to be super parent involved. But that's not a world that I've ever experienced. So I have no idea. I have no idea. Good luck. You say that your daughter is in 8th grade, commenter. So she should be fine. My 4th grader is not. So let's see. I think I've reached touched on everything that this commenter was asking about. Thanks so much and happy homeschooling. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. Hey there, you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to, like and subscribe and like all the things. Click all the buttons, do it. And also comment because then apparently I'll make a video about it. I'll make a video about just about anything. Well, that's about homeschooling, as long as it's about homeschooling. All right, thanks so much. Remember, like, subscribe, all those things. Watch some of the other videos or wherever the things show up. Thanks, bye.